All right, guys, the one thing I want to, in looking at your articles for the next edition, looking at the leads, there's not a, I mean, to be honest, if I'm a freshman or I'm a sophomore and I'm looking at the paper, you're not giving me a reason to read the essay, to read the article. I am not interested. If you're starting with a date, like on June 26th, I'm not reading that article, right? You need to give your readers a reason to read. There are so many other things to do besides reading. They could be on their phone, right? They could be watching YouTube videos. They could be doing their math homework. They could be making out with their girlfriend, all right? There's other things to do besides read. Reading is hard. It takes time. You need to concentrate. And if you give them a reason not to read, they will not read, right? And they're not going to read your articles. You need to make the introduction enticing. Anyone who does cooking knows presentation is everything. Guys, you know when you go to the prom, you want to look sharp. No tie, no bow tie that's kind of straggly, or a shirt that's not pressed. Okay, you want to make sure your cufflinks are right. You want to make sure you look good. Presentation is everything. All right, so you want to make sure that you are engaging with the reader. Make sure that lead is engaging, right? And there's many ways to go about doing it, all right? There's a million ways to do it bad. There's a few ways to do it really effectively, right? What I've done here is I've taken some ideas from Models for Writers, a book that I've used in college, to make your writing better. This applies to journalism, it applies to AP English, it applies to Honors English, it applies to history, DBQs, you name it. These are really good strategies. The first one, guys, write this down, is an anecdote. It's a brief story. It can be a personal anecdote. It can be an historical anecdote. It can be a current event. Right? If you're doing an article about an athlete, it can be a personal anecdote about the athlete. All right? Let's just say you're writing an article about a field hockey player, okay? Or a lacrosse player. And you could say, Chris Jenkins still remembers that rather odd-shaped present underneath the tree when she was 3 years old. Right? Was it a broom? Was it a blah, blah, blah? No, it was a lacrosse stick. Right? Is that so effective? It's better than on January 2nd, Chris Jenkins scored a goal. I'm like, okay, who cares? But make it interesting. Historical anecdote, current event. Right? So you could begin using an anecdote, a brief narrative story. People like narratives. We like chronology. We like, let me tell you a story. If your friend comes up to you and says, Victoria, wait till you hear my story. Oh, okay, let me hear your story. Right? Well, tell me about your date last night. Well, you're going to tell a story. Right? It happened this, and then, and this, and this, and this. This can be brief. It doesn't have to be long. It can be 2 sentences. But make it interesting. Okay? Next one. Analogy or comparison. Here's an example. The gods, they say, give breath, and they take it away. But the same could be said, could it not, of the humble comma. All right? We're doing comma, and you're writing an essay about comma usage. That seems relatively boring. You need to somehow make it interesting. By this author uses an analogy, comparing the comma and God's taking the breath away. Right? The comma is very, very effective. Right? And it's very necessary. And students don't know how to use it sometimes. Right? Oftentimes. For instance, I just, my daughter got me a shirt that said, what was the shirt? Let's eat kids. Right? Let's eat kids. Right? If there's no comma in there, let's eat, comma, kids. It seems like we want to eat kids. Let's eat kids. Right? So this is very important. Right? And that could be another funny thing. If I'm writing this article, I could write about, if I'm talking about The comma, I could use that as an anecdote. Just this Christmas, my daughter got me a present, blah, blah, blah. That's a personal anecdote, right? With a shirt that's like has kids eating, but are we eating kids or are we let's eat, comma, kids? Very different meanings, okay? So use an analogy or comparison. All right, it says, okay, this is happening. What was like this? For instance, sports article, okay? What the boys basketball team did the other night was much like what Patton did invading Sicily. All right, it was an all-out assault that took the defense by surprise. All right, that might be pretty good. I don't know. You want to watch out for making too many broad analogies, especially if they're like you're comparing anyone to Hitler. That's ridiculous. Okay, Hitler is in his own category. Right, so watch out for false analogies. But come up with creative analogies. Comparison. The next one, dialogue quotation. The most overused device is relying heavily on a quote that you find on the internet. Oh, I need a quote about education. So you type in quote, education, and then something comes up. Believe me. It seems like, okay, did you really read this from your own reading or did you just find it on the internet? Because when you rely on the ideas of others, it can really weaken your essay, right? You're just borrowing something that you found, like you found on the ground, right? You did not work for that quarter that you just found on the ground. You just picked it up and picked it in your pocket. It can be effective if it attracts the reader's attention and illustrates a point or a point of view. Using dialogue can be very effective, right? That's not used so frequently. Quotations are used all the time. As Martin Luther King once said, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, not very creative. Still better than some ways to be in an essay, but it's overused. It's overused. I'm not saying don't use it. I'm just saying watch how you use it, especially if it's cliche, all right? And if we know the quote already. All right, facts and statistics. You want to support an argument with logos, logic-based rationale in the body of the essay. But a brief and startling fact can attract attention and engage readers. Right? If you are writing an essay, an article about college loans, right? This is very apropos for a high school audience. You may want to say, around every kid's ankle, there's a weight of $30,000, right? Or there's only one thing worse about having no money, being $30,000 in debt, right? That's what that's what the average college kid comes out with on average, being $30,000 in debt, right? Using a fact to generate interest in your article. Okay. For instance, like Darwin and Lincoln being born on the same day. They were born on the same day. I did not know that until I read an essay about it. But they were like in many different ways too. Darwin and Lincoln being alike in many ways. Okay. So you can use that, a fact or statistic. All right. If you just throw a bunch of statistics up front in your article and think that's going to be effective, it could be really boring. But if it's a startling fact, that's really, really good. Irony or humor. Humor indicates the essay will be fun and entertaining to read. We don't get enough of this. We don't get enough of humor. All right. I would suggest trying to add more humor to your articles because they're just fun to read. They're entertaining. Humor is also the most difficult thing to write. Because if someone doesn't laugh, it's not funny. If someone doesn't cry, well, it could make them feel, but it might not make them cry. Irony can be an unusual approach to a topic. Okay. Irony is also very, very effective because it's an unusual approach to a topic. So if you want to say, okay, how can I approach this topic from an ironic point of view? Right, that could be effective. The next one is a short generalization. Like, it is a miracle that anyone in high school actually gets educated. Or, it's a wonder that there are not more accidents on the highways. Short generalization. It's a miracle that New York works at all. All right, a short generalization. Another one is a startling claim. We can improve education in America by taking away compulsory education. Really? That seems ironic. How can we improve education by taking away compulsory education? You don't want to be in school? Okay then, goodbye. Have fun working in the mines. All right? Yeah, you don't want to be in school when you're 12, 13? Get out. Taxpayer doesn't want to pay for you. If you want to come and learn, fine. But until then, so this is a radical claim. I'm not saying this is my claim, but this is a startling claim. Okay, startling claim. It makes someone say, wait a second here. What's up with that? I want to read this. The whole idea is make that lead interesting. All right? I'm tired of reading like articles I don't want to read. I read them because I'm your advisor. If I'm a reader, I probably would not read them. I have other things to do. I have other better articles to read in my time. Yeah.
Going back to the irony and humor, would that be especially good when writing a column piece?
Yes, writing column piece is a very good question. Yeah, because in columns, voice is everything. You need that voice. You need that personality. You read columns for the personality. Okay, whether it's serious, like a political column, or a sports column, whether it's Bob Ford or whether it's Trudy Rubin at the Inquirer, you get to know their voice. And that's very, very important. All right, voice is another topic. But yeah, that's a very, very good question. All right, and this one, rhetorical question. It is the most overused device. I think it's the only device some teachers teach. Oh, you want to start with a rhetorical question? No, that's cookie cutter. Avoid unless your question is creative, to the point, and effective. For instance, what is intelligence anyway? That's Isaac Asimov. That's effective because he's talking about intelligence, comparing his intelligence with his auto mechanic's intelligence, saying he's just as bright as I am, but in our society, I'm up here and he's down here, and that's ridiculous. There's different types of intelligences. All right, and this is a very good essay. This is bad. What is love? What does love mean to you? Right? That's really, really bad. Okay? That's bad. All right? So these are all different ways to begin an essay. Are they all of the ways? No. But usually one of the ways that's very creative usually falls under one of those categories. Okay? Guys, any questions on that? Questions?
Could you give an example for a way we could use irony?
The teacher I most hated in high school turned out to be my biggest inspiration. Irony. Right? The teacher that tortured me saved me. Because we wrote so many essays, I was so prepared for Harvard. And I rocked Harvard. Okay? Irony. Okay? I cursed him every single day. But then I said, thank you, O Lord, for that. You say, irony. There's irony everywhere. Irony is everywhere. You just have to discover the irony. Okay? Any other questions, guys? Questions?